Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Saturday two-game slate that we have. So Saturday night football is back for tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I can't wait for it. Let's get right into the video. As always, appreciate you guys hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Looking back at the Thursday night showdown that we had yesterday, the winners on both sides had Marcus Mariota. So talk about being contrarian. That was pretty crazy. Myself had Derek Carr on Draftkings in the captain spot, so that was pretty sad. But Fanduel we made out, so that was nice. At least kind of broke even. Looking forward to tomorrow. Let's get right into it. We have a couple of really good offenses, Buffalo and the Packers. We have the Denver Broncos at home, so I think it's going to be a pretty fun two-game split. I can't wait to break it down. So good news is right now we're not dealing with really any injuries on really any team right now. We kind of know who's going to play and not. Only guy is Curtis Samuel, who is currently questionable, but that is pretty much it on the injury front. Melvin Gordon is also questionable, and Lindsey's questionable, but the coach has already come out and said that he expects them to play. So hopefully nothing else changes on that front. Starting off at quarterback, you have Rodgers and Josh Allen, the two of the better quarterbacks in the league this season. Josh Allen gives you a ton of rushing upside, so he's always a fun play every week. He's getting a matchup against the Broncos on the road. The Broncos have been a mediocre defense, not great against the rush, but they've been good against the pass. I think Josh Allen and the Bills' offense is going to continue to put up points. I think that first game can definitely go over on the over-under this week. And Rodgers has just been super consistent. Has almost thrown 40 touchdown passes, 39 to 4 touchdown interception ratio. He's having a tremendous season, so you can't go wrong with any of the top two. And then if you needed to just go cheap at quarterback, because it's gonna like the first decision you're gonna make is if you're gonna spend up at quarterback or spend down. The two guys that are cheap are Bridgewater and Drew Lock. I do like Drew Lock out of the two just because the matchup is so much better for him. This Bills defense, they give up a ton of yards and a ton of points. It should be. I mean, the Broncos don't have the best offense, but like there's a chance they stay in this game. Drew Lock has surprised. Like recently, he's had some good games. Last week was spectacular against the Panthers. Was decent against the Chiefs. Was really good against the Falcons. Was good against the Chargers. He's been pretty solid recently. I think $5,000 for a quarterback on a slate where there's not a ton of value right now, because you have the cheap wide receivers, but you probably want to jam in like Adams and Diggs. Probably want to get to like at running back. There's not that many top end options, so you want to get to Mike Davis, Gordon, maybe Aaron Jones. So I do not think it's crazy to go cheap at quarterback. Just looking at the builds, we'll look at like a couple that you can like consider, but I think Drew Lock is a fine play at quarterback just because if he gets you like 20 fantasy points and Rodgers and Josh Allen get you like 25 to like 30, I don't think it's not gonna be too much of a difference. Just because it's gonna allow you to get up to more expensive wide receiver or running back. Looking at the running back options, McCaffrey is doubtful. It's just super sad that his season has basically just been so cut short with injuries. He looked like he was going to return a couple weeks, like last week, and then he missed that game. Now he's going to miss this one. So it's just really sad for a tremendous fantasy player. But hopefully next season he gets right back to being himself. You have Aaron Jones, who there's a lot to talk about with Jones because he's 7,300. The Packers have just been throwing the football. Even when they're inside the 10, it's just throw to Adams, to like Tanyan. So Jones, his touchdown that has come in the last 3 weeks was like on a 75 or 77-yard run that he busted out. And to make matters worse, he is like not the bell cow. He's taking some work. I mean, Jamal Williams is taking some of his work, and he's 4,800. So I think my favorite running back option is Mike Davis, just because without McCaffrey, you know that his role is just super secure, not only on the ground, but he's going to catch you, at least a handful of passes. He's going to get you like 5, 6 targets on in a game where the Packers have been giving up some fantasy points to running back. So I think Mike Davis is a pretty good play, just because on PPR sites, like he gives you a lot of upside at 6,500 at a running back position that is not super deep on a 2-game slate. And then you have Melvin Gordon, who I would definitely play over Lindsey. He's been much better than Lindsey the last few weeks. He gives you a lot more touchdown upside. 7 touchdowns on the season for Melvin Gordon compared to Lindsey, who just has 1 touchdown. So Touchdowns are super important in DFS, so I'd rather go with a guy like Gordon. And then you could look to Devin Singletary. He's only $4,100. I think he looks fine. He doesn't give you a high floor, but if he manages to get you like 15 touches, I think he will be a pretty good value play. And all you need out of him is to, even though he only has one touchdown, but if he happens to get a touchdown, then he's gonna be like the best value player running back. And then you could look to Jamal Williams as well and hope that he steals a touchdown. Moving on to wide receiver, this is the position where you have two expensive guys in Adams and Diggs, and then you have some value. Curtis Samuel is questionable. If he happens to miss, you're gonna see $3,000 Cooper become a decent play. He played quite a bit last week against the Broncos because DJ Moore was out that week, so he played like 60% of the snaps. And if Samuel's out, you would assume that he continues to take that role. So keep an eye on that. He could have a decent value play at $3,000, depending on the injury news of Curtis Samuel. You do have a lot of wide receivers in the 4K range, whether it be Cole Beasley, Tim Patrick, MVS, Gabriel Davis. Even below 4K, you have Jerry Jeudy, Hamler. You have some of the Broncos guys. So I think the first guy you want to probably go with is Davante Adams at 94. He's just been like a top 3 receiver in football this season. Probably top 2. You can make an argument that he's number 1. But it's like close between him and like Diggs is also on the slate. He's leading the league in catches and yards. But Adams, 9,400. He's been just Rodgers' favorite target every single week, catching a touchdown pass. You can go down in the list. He's caught a touchdown pass in like 8 straight, I believe, or 3. Uh, yeah, 8 straight, and then he's had like a multiple touchdowns in 3 of those. So he's just been the guy that you want to play against this Panthers defense. Not super scary at all. You have Diggs, who I like a lot. If you're playing Diggs, you're probably going cheap at quarterback. If you're not playing Diggs, then you're probably paying up at quarterback. Those are like the two things that I'm gonna kind of flip flop between. I haven't completely decided yet, but I think Diggs is trending upwards right now. No John Brown again this week. Was ruled out, even though he was activated off the IR, but he's not playing this one. You're getting a guy that's going to catch you probably 10 passes. He's done that 3 out of 4 games. 100 yards. 100 receptions on the season. Only 5 touchdowns, but just gives you a ton of upside on PPR sites just because he's going to catch you a ton of passes. So you have Davante Adams, you have Stephon Diggs, really good start at the wide receiver position. And then you probably can mix and match some of the 4K guys. Like, if you're playing Drew Lock, you probably want to pair him with a guy like Tim Patrick, who's just been super consistent. Had another touchdown last week, even though only had 36 yards, but he's been super consistent. 6 touchdown receptions on the season. He's had double-digit fantasy points in 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games, or 5 straight games. I'm definitely not counting the game against the Saints where they had Hinton at quarterback. He's just been super consistent. He's getting you a double-digit games like 70% of the time. He has the ability to catch you like close to 100, if not more than 100 yards. He's the guy in the red zone. So even though KJ Hamler had that huge game last week with 2 long touchdown grabs, I'm still gonna side with the guy that's been more consistent. And Patrick was only $800 more. Like, you could play KJ Hamler, but I am definitely not going to count on him catching 2 long bombs again this week. I also think you could look to MVS at 4,200, but if I'm playing Adams, you definitely could play him, Adams, and like Tanyan and just triple stack the Packers. But I think you can also, just focus on making a bit of a balanced team. So, like, these 6, I think, look really good as like core pieces. Tight end, you have Tanyan and Noah Fant as the 2 guys I'm considering. Defense, probably consider the Bills defense. I like them at 3,000, even though I think all these defenses are going to be pretty similar. But I'm not playing the Panthers against the Packers because Rodgers isn't going to throw a lot of interceptions. At least with the Bills, you have a guy in Drew Lock that could throw some picks. You have a guy, if you play the Broncos defense, Josh Allen can turn the ball over at times. And the Packers defense looks probably the best, but they're also the most expensive. So I'll probably go with the Bills. I think they look really good, or the Packers if I can get up to them. And that's pretty much it for the DraftKings side. Leaves you with 3,900. That's plenty because tight end is cheap. You have a bunch of guys in the 4K range that are playable, and then defenses are cheap too. So let's go ahead and look at the Fanduel pricing and see what looks good over there. All right, for this 2-game slate at quarterback, you have Rodgers at 92, then Josh Allen then Bridgewater and Locke. So the pricing is consistent on both sides, with the order of the most expensive to the least expensive quarterback. Still think Drew Lock looks like in play at 68. That's just such a cheap price point. Even if he gets me like 17, like teens, he'll be fine. Like if he has a sub 10 game, then that's gonna be pretty bad. But in this matchup against the Bills, you're gonna have to throw a lot. It's probably gonna be like they're gonna have to score a lot to keep up with the Bills offense. So I could see him getting you like 20 plus fantasy points and being a really good play at 68. Obviously, if salary cap wasn't a thing, you would want to get up to Rodgers at 92 or Allen. But running backs on FanDuel is definitely Mike Davis as my favorite. And then I like Melvin Gordon still at 6,000. I just because he gives you a touchdown upside. He's been pretty consistent the last couple weeks, and he's definitely outplaying Lindsey, so he's kind of earning more touches. So definitely like Melvin Gordon, and then the third guy is Aaron Jones, and like you could look to like Jamal Williams or Singletary. Wide receiver, it's still Adams as the number one guy. I find it tough not to have Adams and Diggs. You couldn't if you don't play Diggs, you'll probably want to play like Cole Beasley because one of the two is probably gonna have like a really really good game. But I like Diggs and Adams to start. Beasley looks in play at 58. You have Tim Patrick who looks good at 57. MVS, and then I think on FanDuel, like Gabriel Davis looks solid just because he's a big play touchdown guy, and he's been like making some big plays recently. Touchdown in 3 straight games. He's caught in long passes in 2 out of 3 games. Last week against Pittsburgh, a really really tough defense, but now it's just a completely different spot against the Broncos. And he's a guy that with John Brown out, he's playing like 90+% of the snaps. The rookie has impressed, and I think he's earned a lot of playing time with still without John Brown. Once John Brown comes back, it'll be a completely different story. But he's been super solid and fun to watch at times. So at only 5,400, I definitely think the Bills are going to be able to put up points. So double stack them at wide receiver, play Adams, and then you got your decently volume running backs in Davis and Gordon. Tight end, like Tanyan, is the number one guy. Then Fant is the second. And defense, the Packers look good at 42. They're cheaper than they are on DraftKings, so I definitely like them the most. And then the Bills, and then the Broncos. So that's pretty much it for this Saturday. We have a fun 2-gamers. Hopefully it goes well for you guys. Thank you for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. You can check out the site if you want to join. And best of luck this week.